It's the Paris Chong Show. It's the Paris Chong Show, show. It's the Paris Chong Show. Okay, hello. Welcome back to the Paris Chong Show. I'm Paris. This is Disco, and this is our special guest today, Barbara Davidson. Hey, Barbara. So, Barbara, let me ask you, are you a Dodgers fan?
Just a wee bit.
Well, I just couldn't tell by
just
the.
a wee bit. just a wee bit.
I would have never have known. But Barbara is a dear friend and an amazing photographer, and she's a Pulitzer and Emmy Award, Pulitzer Prize and Emmy Award-winning photographer. And she will be showing next year at Leica for 100 years of Leica, alongside the infamous Joel Meyerowitz. So you must come to the show. It'll be at end of February. And we're so excited to have you showing with Joel. That's pretty incredible.
The pleasure is all mine. Trust me.
Well, as you can see, we have a photo here. So we do encourage the guests to bring their photography or paintings with them. And Barbara brought her piece here, which I just found out will be in the exhibit next year. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this photo?
Sure. I was working on a story for the Canadian national newspaper called the Globe and Mail, and I was traveling across the country by car from LA to New York, and I was traveling to the swing states for the upcoming election.
Okay.
And I wanted to capture things that were really quintessential American,
Mhm.
like baseball games and state fairs and local fairs. And so I found one in this little place called Coldwater, Michigan.
Okay.
And when I went there, I was completely blown away by how many people from Yemen actually live and work in this town. And so when I saw this image of this woman with her hijab on it from Yemen, juxtaposed
Yeah.
with the fair, I thought, wow,
It's really an incredible photo. I love it.
it really kind of represents a modern America.
So there's a Yemen community, and
Huge, huge.
interesting.
There's quite a large Arab population in Michigan.
Okay.
And it was funny because I was trying to speak to them and I was saying, look, I've been to Yemen and your country is lovely. And they could barely believe me because how
Really?
many people like me in a small town like that can say, I've been to your country?
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. And I think about 20% of the population are actually from
That's
Yemen.
interesting.
It's a large population.
I don't even know if we have a large population. I mean, I'm assuming we have so many different people here in LA, right? That I don't know.
We do, but there is a large population of,
In Detroit? No, not there.
yes,
Yeah.
a
So
lot of Iraqi
I'm
people.
wondering if it has anything to do with the automotive business.
I think it has to do with once a group of people are comfortable in a certain
Yeah.
area and they're being hired,
Hmm.
families come,
Yeah.
friends
Well, that's
come.
good.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it was fascinating to see, but I thought it really spoke to sort of present day America
Yeah.
and how the face of the country is
So
changing.
and you did this, you used to work with the LA Times.
I did.
And then
did.
you did this project for
The Globe and Mail.
the Globe. Okay, so how was the road trip? I didn't really talk too much about
Oh
you
my
about the road trip.
God. The road trip, it
So
was.
tell us where you start and ended.
I started in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I drove through, I was on my way to Las Vegas because Nevada is
Yeah.
obviously a very important state. And I got stuck in an 18-hour traffic jam
That sounds like a
from this
horrific
crazy
experience.
car accident.
Yeah.
So that's how my road trip of 3
It's
weeks started. And then I just went to all these different locations: Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma City, and small rural areas. It was
all the glamorous
fascinating,
towns.
fascinating to see how people in this country really
I know.
live.
I've never done a road trip like that. I've always wanted to. I've
It's
always wanted to do that.
it was fascinating. And I became an American a year
Mm.
ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm
Good
really
for you.
excited about that.
You were you had, so do you have a Canadian and an
I do.
American
I
passport?
do.
Lucky
I
you.
have Canadian citizenship, I have Irish citizenship, and I have American
Wow, that's
citizenship. So I'm
incredible.
like, a world traveler now. And yeah, Yeah, and
Is it easy to do that in America?
it is. I
Yeah,
mean, Americans only recognize the American passport,
right.
so I just have to take it with me everywhere I travel. But when I
Right.
go home to Canada, I enter with my Canadian passport.
I love Canadian people. Everyone from Canada is always so nice. Do you know ever notice that? It's like, like not that
I
everybody
know
from here is an
that's why my
asshole,
friends
but
say to me, "I've
yeah.
become American."
No, but they're always very nice. Like everyone I've met from Canada are they're just really sweet, lovely, nice people.
Canadians are lovely. They're humble, they're
Mhm.
modest. I mean, we live next
So
door
are
to
the
the
people in LA.
Yes, true, 100%. But we live next door to the greatest nation in the world.
Right.
And so
It really is. I mean, I'm scared about the election.
me too.
Terrified, actually. I'm panicking. Um, but I love going to Europe. I lived in London for a long time, and I love traveling around the world. And I believe it or not, I have not been to Canada. I really want to go. It's on my bucket list. Don't I know that is a for sure.
Okay,
It's
we're
ridiculous.
doing Montreal.
Yeah, no, I want to so
We're
badly.
doing Montreal.
Okay, we will. But
1,000%.
I always go love being where I am, but then I love it here more. I definitely have to get to Canada. Okay, so the road trip, you started in Los Angeles and you ended in
New York.
okay.
Now we know New York and Los Angeles are the big cities.
Yeah.
We know which way they're going to end up going. But it was brilliant to go to these really small towns
Mhm.
across America, the rural areas,
Mhm.
just to see how people are surviving.
Yeah.
What is the economy like for them? What is the health like for them? I mean, what is the health infrastructure like
Mhm.
in rural parts of the country? It was fabulous.
What was the project that what was the project they gave you to take photos of?
Well, because whatever happens in the United States impacts Canadians, it
Mhm.
impacts Canada a lot. The idea was to have me travel with a reporter who traveled by bus, by the way,
Okay.
on the
Oh, I
Greyhound.
know,
He took,
behind you
he took,
or alongside you.
he took the
Super freak.
he took he took
This
the
guy sounds
Greyhound.
like a nut, and he could have driven with
Oh
you,
my God,
but he wanted to be on a
the
bus.
stories he can tell, boy,
Oh.
unbelievable. So it was just an idea of looking at the swing states, getting a pulse of the country prior
Mhm.
to the election, just to see where it's going, because
Yeah.
nobody really has any idea
Where do
who's
you
going to
think
win this.
where do you think it's going?
It's really hard to say. I think I would be lying if I thought it was going one way or another.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say,
Did
and
you vote?
I'm going to
'Cause you're American
for the
now.
first time.
Oh my god, you have to
I'm
vote.
so excited.
I
And
know.
sometimes people will say that if you live in New York or you live in Los Angeles, your vote doesn't matter, but
That does
that's the
matter.
worst. Of course it
I think it all
matters.
matters.
Of course it
Yeah, I don't
matters.
understand why people don't vote, and then they complain about things.
I
It's,
don't
like,
understand that
very
either.
strange to me.
That's kind of the most exciting thing for
Now
me.
now through these swing states, where were you surprised to, actually like that place?
Oh, I have to tell you, I went to this little place called Cashton, Vermont. No, Cashton, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And there might be 2,000 people that live there.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Oh, it was fabulous.
I
It
feel
was
bad that I haven't heard of it, but,
Well, I mean, not I hadn't heard about
yeah,
it,
I there
and I just would stumble upon
Cashton.
places.
So
I
can you
would just
so
fall
you could you see yourself in Cashton someday?
I said to the reporter, I said, I could live here. There's
Really?
something really wholesome about this place, and it just feels like time has stopped." And he laughed at me and he said, "You'd survive 2 days and you'd be saying, 'Get me the hell out of here.'"
Yeah.
But, I have to say, everywhere I traveled, every person I met, regardless of their political persuasion, everyone was kind to me. It was such an interesting
That's nice
assignment.
to hear.
But well, because we could have these really in-depth conversations
Mhm.
about what they were concerned about, which way they were leaning in
Well,
terms of
maybe
their
they were just
vote.
happy that somebody finally came to Cashton. They're like, "Oh, there's somebody here, a new person, a new person. There's a
Well,
new person. Let's be nice to her."
I certainly was a weirdo for sure.
No, I think it takes big balls for a woman to travel across country. I've never I would have to go with someone or a big, huge, mean dog. But like I have my girlfriend Deborah Anderson, she travels around all the time by herself. I'm like, I just think it's like feels unsafe, like because there's
well, I
kooks
mean,
on the road, right?
totally, absolutely. So you've really got to be aware of your
Yeah.
surroundings. You've got to check your tires. There's a lot, but I would send my brothers my
Yeah.
location. so they could track me
So you
if
never
anything.
got in a hairy situation where you were a little nervous?
No, the only time that I got into a hairy situation was when we were trying to find, the reporter and I, we were trying to find the shooting range,
Okay.
and, it was outside, and so I was going down a pathway that had signs that said, "Please turn around. Live shooting happening here."
Oh,
And I was
no.
saying to the reporter, "I think it's just a little further. We just have to go a few more inches." And he's like, "For the love of God, change the car around. We're going to
Yeah,
be
no,
shot here."
that is not good.
So I was grateful that that didn't
Yeah,
happen.
me
And
too.
it was just so immersive. It was really interesting. And because I was working, I was much more open to really listening and hearing what people had to
Yeah,
say. It's not like we were at a party together.
right.
I had a mission. My job was to document them, to see how they felt, which way they were leaning in terms of their vote. So it allowed me to be completely open and,
Mhm.
and listen to what people had to say. It was
Yeah.
absolutely fascinating. Great assignment. I mean,
So how long were you gone?
I was gone for 3 weeks.
And did they love the photos when you sent them?
I was terrified. I really thought, "Oh my god, I'm gonna fail this," because
No.
it was such a huge assignment. Every single person I documented, I found them in the moment. Nothing was set up, nothing was preordained. And so I was just like in a sheer state of
I don't
panic.
know why you're like that, because 'cause you've kind of been like that with the show as well, like, "Oh, I don't know,
Totally.
is this okay? I don't know, I'll have it in a few days," because people are hiring you and working with you for a reason, because 'cause you're
I
good.
appreciate that.
You're
I really appreciate that, but I put such high expectations on myself. I am my worst critic.
You don't need to be though, Barbara. Your work is
I
really
appreciate
amazing.
that. I
I mean, the
appreciate that.
owner of Leica who runs all the galleries, I was given the task of choosing 3 photographers to choose from, for her to choose from, for to show with Joel Meyerowitz, because we each got, for the 100 years, a lot of the main galleries each got a legend. And I you were one of them, and it was immediately you were chosen. And
Well,
so I'm like, for you to even worry about what you're doing, it doesn't make sense to me because you're so good. You
well,
won a Pulitzer Prize.
But there's something to be said. The cynics will say you're only as good as your last photo. And while I don't completely agree with that philosophy, I do believe that it's challenging to always up your game as a
Mhm,
photographer and always be maybe not better than the last one, but to keep that bar on a
mhm.
level that is really high. Like a photographer once said to me a long time ago when I was first starting in the business, he said to me, "You know, when you're young getting into the business, you're on like a rocket path in terms of your growth, right? You're
Mhm,
just learning so much. So you're really escalating." And he says it's when you are good, that's when it gets hard because you have to maintain that excellence. And that's where the challenge is, always maintaining that excellence and always wanting to be better and stay fresh and stay
mhm.
good. And so I think that's where the real challenge is. Like I know my work is solid. I know that, but every assignment brings up this new fear in me. I'm like, "Oh God, can I do
Oh,
it again? Can I
no.
do it again? Am I going to be able to get it?" But I have to say that that assignment that I just did across the country, just finding the unknown
Mhm.
and meeting
I can't wait
everybody,
to see the
is
photos.
really exciting.
And some of them are gonna make their
This
way
is
to.
definitely gonna
Yeah.
make it
And
because
I've
for
loved what you've been posting.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just, there are just so many images that were unexpected,
Mhm.
even for me.
Right.
And there is a thrill about being on a sort of Hunter S. Thompson adventure.
Yeah.
There is something so freeing about that. You're unshackled creatively. I have never worked with editors like this who completely just trusted me and said, "Yeah, go out, whatever you find, do whatever you like." So to get comfortable within that freedom was also a process for me as I was going along on this mission. And in the end, when I finally got to look at the images, I
Mhm.
said, "Phew, okay, I did it. We're good."
Yeah. And they were happy.
Yeah, they were really happy. Oh my God, they ended up running an 8-page special section in the newspaper.
Wow.
I haven't had a special section in a very long time. I mean,
Yeah.
newspapers are,
Mhm.
they're shrinking, they're contracting.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Matthew Baton had a show in January, and they did an article for as someone from the LA Times came, and they asked. It was so funny because they asked to take photos, and for some godforsaken reason, there wasn't any photos of Matthew but disco, and I got in the LA Times. He's like, "Can you believe this? They put you and disco in there,"
No,
and then
that's so
I
great.
was
That's
laughing. I'm like,
appropriate.
"Sorry about that,
That's
Matthew."
appropriate.
Yeah, but when I went to go get 2,000 copies of the LA Times because Disco and I were in there, I haven't bought a paper in so long. It was small. Even the paper is small, smaller than I'm like, "What happened? The paper shrank." And it's like everything's small, everything or you oh, here you oh, you're so cute. Aw,
Come
and
here,
you and I also
disco.
and Barbara's an animal lover like I am,
I
and we
am.
we both had, 6 sick dogs at the same time.
Hi.
Um,
Hi.
and we helped each other through it. Unfortunately, Drew's not with
My
us, and
Drew
yeah,
Drew.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, but it was you were so supportive during that time
I
that I was,
appreciate it. I mean, I
going through
can't
hell,
hello,
and so she
disco.
actually has a I love the story you told me of how you got Drew. You were actually on assignment in a very dangerous area. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my little Drew, she's called Drew because she's named after the street Drew,
Okay.
in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And it was a really dangerous part of the
Yeah.
city in Glass Hill Park. Would have been 16 and a half years ago. And, anyways, I was assigned to work on that street because the police were really taking charge of that area. And they even bulldozed down a house. The
Okay.
mom who sort of ran that gang,
Yeah.
they bulldozed down her house.
So it's a
Anyway,
gang street.
heavy, heavy gang street.
Okay.
It
Yeah, I
was.
don't wanna go there.
It was. And I saw this little dog, and she was tied to a pole, and she looked very young. And I thought, wow, what's that dog doing here? This is really not a place for that type of
Mhm.
dog to be living. And then the owner at the time of the dog came out and said, this dog is really responding to you. Drew put her face inside my the
Coat pocket.
Lampshade. Okay, okay, I'll get back.
Lampshade.
I'll get back. I'll get back.
Okay,
Okay, so Drew put her face in my lampshade and
okay.
sat there. And anyway, long story short, the woman's like, "I can't take care of this dog. It lives outside." And I thought, Jesus,
That's
this
I
dog
thought there
can.
was a shooting going on.
Oh,
I don't
there was a shooting the
Yeah.
night before.
Okay, that's why you were there taking
That's
photos.
why I was there.
Yeah,
Right in front of her house, there was a shooting.
and there was a shooting and the dog's outside tied to a pole.
Yeah, and there
Horrible.
was a huge bullet right outside in the electrical box right
Oh,
outside her house. So it was definitely not the type of environment for a dog. And so I took her for another friend of mine.
mhm.
And unfortunately, my friend was laid off about a week later at the LA Times. And he's like, "I can't take her." And I said, "No, I already have a dog. I already have my dog." So that's how my life came about, having two fabulous
Yeah.
dogs. And now they're both gone, which in a
Well,
weird
you were able to do the assignment because you
it
weren't traveling for a long
that's the
time
thing.
because, being a good dog mom, she wasn't taking assignments to travel, and it was almost like a godsend for you to be able to do this. This is part of not a godsend when your dog dies, I didn't mean that at all, but you got to travel and do this project because you might not have done that if she was still home, needing care.
Let me tell you, the last 2 years of my dog's life, that was my priority. But I had to work. I was struggling. I'm independent. I have to support myself
Mhm.
financially. So it was incredibly challenging. And this assignment actually, it was so healing for me because my dog had died maybe 2 months beforehand. I was so deeply in grief, and I didn't even want to take photos. I
Mm,
was done. I was like, I'm not interested in taking photos. I'm too sad.
that's
And then I was asked to cover this assignment, and it's like such a dream assignment. And I literally poured my heart and soul into this
it
assignment
was
because
healing,
it
right?
was
Photography's
healing.
healing.
Photography is
Art is
so
healing.
healing. I have to tell you, to pivot for 1 second without taking it too down, my mom died of cancer in 2006,
Mm,
and I was devastated. And then I got the job at the LA Times, literally like 5 months after. And
wow.
I thought, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to get a new job, new infrastructure, new job, new city? And I just felt like I didn't have the stamina to handle something like
Yeah.
that. And so I was not into taking pictures. And I thought, oh my God, the LA Times is going to fire me, right? They're going to dump me because I'm like in a slump. And here's the thing that happened that got me out of this visual slump. I started this new job, new city, new everything, which should be a wonderful time for anybody,
Mhm.
but I was so sad, right?
Yeah, well,
And
when your mom passed away.
totally, when your mom
That's the only
dies.
time I ever was depressed in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, I don't I feel bad when people suffer from depression, but I didn't really even know what it was until my mom died. That was the only time I really felt really depressed.
I'm with you. You don't even know what it
It's
is.
awful.
So, but here's the healing of photography.
Yeah.
So I remember saying to one of the photographers at the LA Times, Gina Farazi, and I was like, Gina, I don't know why I'm here. I cannot photograph. I cannot do it. And she said, it'll come to you. It'll come back. It's not gone. Just be patient with yourself. And sure enough, I was assigned to photograph a woman who had been shot, Rose Smith, and she was paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm,
And there's something changed in my brain. It was like a switch went off, and all of a sudden, I was so invested to tell her story
yeah.
about how she was struggling and raising her family after being shot. And then that sort of became this huge trajectory for me to be completely immersed in people who have been shot in
Mm,
Los Angeles
that's
and
interesting.
completely dedicated to that. And then the irony is the work went on to win a Pulitzer that you
I
mentioned
know,
about,
that's amazing.
but it came from a place, that work came a place from I was so lost,
But from pain and healing.
so much pain,
Mhm.
and I felt comfortable being around people who were grieving, who were suffering,
That's
who
wild.
were lost. Because a lot of people would say to me, "Why are you doing this violence? Why can you?"
Yeah.
And I said, "I feel, um, I feel like a kinship because we were grieving."
Yeah.
Now, I've never been shot. I've never experienced that. Of course not. But there's something about loss that is a universal
Mhm, and
experience.
everyone's gonna go through it or will go through it or, it's just part of life.
Yeah, and like I didn't have to
Yeah.
know your mother, but I could understand
Yeah.
exactly what you were talking about
Yeah.
when you were telling me about that felt like. So, yeah, I think that there is such a healing power with
Mhm.
photography and how it helps us, as a photojournalist, it helps me be more present for people who are experiencing sometimes the most difficult times of
Yeah.
their lives. I feel that I can be present for them because I've experienced it.
That's the story that you won the Pulitzer Prize for. Did you ever do a show with that work?
I had a show with that work in Paris
Okay.
for Perpignan,
Oh,
Visa pour l'image.
yeah.
And I remember they had me speaking about the work, and they were so wonderful to me, and they gave it a beautiful exhibit. And they said, okay, so clearly your work has changed the trajectory for this kind of violence in the United States.
Mhm.
I was like, no, it
What
hasn't.
year was that?
2012.
That's wild.
2012. Yeah, it was a beautiful exhibition. And I try to have the families that have been part of it still
Mhm.
be a part of, any kind of awareness that we
Right.
do or we talk about gun violence. So, yes, I did win the Pulitzer, and it was unbelievably rewarding to
Yeah.
have worked so hard on that story and then to receive
It's a good story too that it helped you heal too,
totally helped me heal.
Yeah,
And I didn't know that when I was doing it.
right.
But within time, I could sort of understand it all better. My brain was half gone most of the time. But I think that, yeah, it was such a beautiful thing. And I kind of in the back of my head, because I'll tell you another really funny thing quickly. My mom had been diagnosed with cancer, and I was scheduled to cover the Iraq War.
Mm.
And I remember my mom was in the hospital and I went to see her and I was like, Mom, do you think it would be okay if I went to cover the Iraq war? I've been like
Oh.
building up to this my whole life, my whole career. And she just looked at me and she's like, "No." So I was like,
She said
"Okay."
no?
She said, "No." She said, "No." So what am I supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
My poor mom is like really sick. So I called my editor and I said, "Yo, I can't. I'm not coming. I'm not going." And I was at the Dallas Morning News and I said, I can't cover the story. And my colleagues who took my place, they won a Pulitzer for that
Oh,
story.
God.
So I was like, well, whatever. But then I feel like I had my mom's spirit with me when she
Yeah, you made
passed
the
and I
right
did that
decision. I
story.
think you
Yeah,
did the right
I
thing.
did the right thing.
Yeah, you
And then
that's
it doesn't
important
matter. You win
too.
one anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
like
No is no when your mom is sick. So and what about the Emmy?
the Emmy. That was super exciting. It was during a time when newspaper photographers were being tapped to actually create videos.
Mhm,
Multimedia was coming onto the scene. And I took to it very seamlessly. It
mhm,
was no big deal for me. So I just started to shoot video. I started to interview everybody I had met. Um, and so I just pivoted from a still sensibility
mhm.
to a motion sensibility. And, I had good colleagues at the at the Times, who really helped me with the edit. And we put it together and, it won an Emmy
I know,
for
that's
new
incredible.
approaches to film and documentary. And
So do you wanna do more film and documentary work?
yeah, I would love to. I mean, there is something so important about a still image. It sort of lasts with you.
Right,
But I also think as a society, we are completely moving towards moving images, right? And I love people being able to tell their own story,
right.
right? There's an agency that they get to have. Whereas an image, I'm sort of the author of it and I kind of tell the
Yeah.
story. But there's something so beautiful about people being able to tell their own stories.
Mhm.
And so I'm really down with that.
Is there a story that you're like, you wish you could do work on, like, particular story that you would love to do something like that for?
It's really funny. I mean, most people won't understand this particular story, but there are two. I'm working on a story right now about seniors who are being evicted in Los
That is
Angeles.
very sad,
It
but needs to be told.
shocking.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
my arena is always the heavy duty
Mhm, mhm.
assignments, the heavy duty
Well, someone's
stories,
gotta do it, and you do it
and
well.
I mean, I'm there. I'm
It's
always willing
good.
to it.
Yeah.
So that's a story that I would love to figure out. How am I going to translate that into somewhat
It's a
supporting?
horrible thing,
Oh, it's unbelievable. And to hear
evicting
their voices.
elderly people, and where do they go?
Well, they go to the street or they pass away. I mean, I just told a story of this woman who's just been, she was just evicted and she died a couple of months later.
Oh god, too
The stress of these kinds of situations are so traumatizing for people. And I think, you know, the world of photojournalism it's fading in some way.
mhm,
But there is such an urgency about telling people's stories and how important that kind of reportage is.
yeah,
And I am still very on fire about it. I'm still really happy about telling stories about the human condition and how people are getting through during the day,
mhm,
like what does their day look like? How does that feel? And that's kind of my way of operating in the world in the area of photojournalism.
right.
I feel like I hate to say this, it's going to sound so silly and pretentious, but I feel like I'm a visual humanitarian.
There's nothing wrong with that. I
W-
think you are.
Well, I appreciate that.
Now you said there was 2 things, what was the second?
Oh my gosh, the other thing is, I was born and raised in Montreal, and there's always this tension between the English and the French, and I feel like there should be an in-depth documentary about living side by side.
Yeah,
What is it like for someone who speaks French? What is it like for someone who speaks English? Because there's tension there.
right.
And I'd love to do a deep dive on that and explore it more. But that would definitely I definitely need funding to tell films. Films are
Yeah.
so expensive.
I know, how do you get funding as a photographer to do
You
projects
have to
like that?
apply for
Do you
grants.
get grants a lot?
I wouldn't say a lot, but I was very blessed. I
Mhm.
received a Guggenheim
I know,
fellowship,
that's
which is a
incredible.
big deal. And the story resonated with them, and I was very grateful because a lot of people have tried many times to try to get
Yeah,
that,
no,
and I
that's
don't
a
know how
big
I
deal,
did.
that is a big deal.
It's a big deal, and I took an 8 by 10 film camera, an Arca Swiss film camera, and I drove across the country and I met people who had been shot, and I made portraits of people who have been shot with that 8x10
Yeah.
camera,
Yeah.
which was crazy for me because I didn't really understand the process and the technical aspect. And I brought lights and I drove across the country with my dogs. I mean, some of the things that I do, when it's finished, I look back and think, what is wrong with me?
Now, what do you does anything come to mind that's kinda light and happy or no way?
Let me tell you this story that I just did, the
Mhm.
political story. I
Yeah.
have to say, it felt nice. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't in pain
Yeah,
taking
well,
those
the
photos.
politics aren't really,
Would-
so great right now, but maybe
well, I was open though.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
judge, right?
yeah,
And one thing that I love doing the Leica show is that I'm really leaning into work that is more artful.
yeah,
I'm really leaning into work that does have a social
yeah,
conscience, but it's a little less obvious and a little bit more leaving it up to the viewer to
right.
decide what they feel about the work. Like something like this picture,
Yeah, no, it's I like this photo.
Yeah,
I
there's a
like a
lot.
lot of the photos you've been taking for
Yeah,
the
so I'm
show.
kind of it's
Yeah,
fun. This show has really given me the
yeah.
opportunity to see the world differently, and it's exciting. It's scary though, right?
There's nothing to be scared
It's
of. You're right.
scary.
Now,
It's a
where's your artist statement? I still need that. I'm like, where the hell is the artist statement? Disco. I'm not sure what's going on with him right now, but you're
He's
gonna get.
excited I'm
I
here, so he's
know. I just
scratching.
need. No, he's got to stop doing that though. We don't want to pay for the vet anymore. I'm in debt because of the vet bill.
Oh, listen, come on.
Debt from the vet.
The debt from the vet. Okay. Debt
Well, hello, you've had a sick animal. It's
debt
expensive. It's
from the
debt.
vet.
But she introduced me to the most awesome veterinarian place. You guys have to know about this. If you have pets, we have to get them on here the show next. A modern animal.
It's so
It's
sweet.
like it's a and they're all over town. It's kind of like a massage envy, but for animals. But you join. There's a fee, and then you can go in and see them anytime. But they literally, I think, help save Disco. But he's not doing super great
Well, they
tonight.
caught some things with
Yeah, they
disco. They
did.
caught some things.
I'm gonna have to take him
Ba-ba-ba-ba.
out in a minute. So let me ask you this: Are you gonna stay in Los Angeles forever? Do you ever miss, or do you ever think you'll go back to Canada or Cashton? Wisconsin, or back to Cashton,
Well,
Wisconsin with you.
I could probably afford a house in
Yeah,
Cashton, which is probably
maybe.
the only place I can afford
I
a
know it's
house.
terrible here, isn't it?
It's
The money here
it's
is terrible. It's
unconscionable.
terrible.
But listen, as a journalist, as a photojournalist, Los Angeles is
Well,
one
I
of
we pay to live there's so because LA is so great. I love LA. I keep moving back here. I move away. I try to move and I keep coming back, but there's something special about LA. But and you're with your work, you have to be here. In the arts business, I think the art's doing really great in LA right now. It used to always just be New York, but now it's really like
look, I'm
the
kind of like
scene's good
I'm
here.
kind of like the president of the LA fan club. I love this city
Yeah,
so
well,
much.
hello. I can tell by the Dodgers. Did you
Hello.
see this jacket? It's so good. I
Hello.
know. I would have liked to have gone to the Dodgers game. I only went to that is very
Hello.
special. Do we see this? And the shoes. Can we see the shoes? The matching shoes. Yeah, no, I would have loved to see the Dodgers.
Well,
Uh
listen, I can't afford to see the World Series games because they are bananas
yeah,
expensive.
no,
But
everything is.
I'm just representing. I'm proud of my town, and
Remember, you used to be able to go to any of these things for like 20 bucks, and now it's like 3,000?
forget it, forget it.
2,000. It's
But
20 to 2,000.
listen, if you really love LA, you got to love the Dodgers because
Yeah.
I live in Echo Park. Okay,
Yeah, you're right there.
it's 2 miles away from my house,
Lucky.
and so the vibe, the
Yeah.
energy, the
I've
people.
only been once, and
Oh,
I did eat a Dodger dog, and I don't eat pork, but I had to try it.
I tried it. I don't really eat that stuff
But why
either.
does that crap taste so good?
I know it's crazy. It's full of
Delicious.
MSG.
Dodger dog yeah,
Full of MSG. We
yeah,
love it.
but
We
it
love
was
it.
divine.
Yeah,
And a
but so
beer,
but
like a
so
gigantic $50 beer. I think I had a beer and a hot dog, and it was $100.
no, it's
And then I felt fat and
outrageous.
gross. Went
Listen,
home.
people are willing to pay to see Otani, man. That guy,
Yeah,
he's
right?
special. But
Oh,
I will say the whole team for the fans out there are just so many people to love on that
yeah,
team. So
yeah.
many people to love. So listen,
Who
fingers
doesn't love
crossed. We got to win
baseball?
the
I
World
love that
Series.
you're a girl that loves sports.
You know, here's the deal. Let me tell you
Yeah.
something. I have all these friends saying to me, like, "Oh, are you getting a press pass to shoot the
You
Dodgers?" And I
should.
thought, I am the world's worst sports photographer. No, I
Oh.
don't shoot sports. I'm terrible. I don't deserve to shoot it. This is something that the great sports photographers of
Yeah.
Los Angeles deserve to be at those games, not me.
And then you can enjoy yourself.
It's so much
And
fun
it's
just
kind of happy. It's not sad enough for you. You wouldn't have any healing if you shot sports, unless people were
listen,
fighting,
listen,
getting
listen,
hurt, or there was
listen.
gunshots.
For sure, what we do is intense. But listen, as I evolve as a human, I'm leaning into things that are happier, and I'm
Yeah,
just trying
no,
to
you're
be more
getting there. Well, you
artful.
just went through a lot. Yeah, no, and you are.
You know,
You
I'm
can
trying to
see
be more
you are
artful in
more
my
artful. Yeah,
process.
no, I'm
I'm
really
trying to
excited to
be.
host you at the gallery and looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be a gorgeous show no matter what.
Yeah, I'm excited. And, I really love the fact that it's really a collaboration
Yeah.
and it's a collaboration with Joel. And
Yeah.
that sort of fueled how I was going to sort of interpret what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I really love it because his work is in a time capsule, 60s, 70s, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful works, beautiful works. So I think that I'm revisiting how we look as a people
Mhm.
from a prism of 2023,
Yeah.
2024. So I think it's going to be exciting. It'll be a nice compliment, it'll be a nice contrast. I think it'll be a cool show.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a cool show. How couldn't it be? You're cool.
Hey.
Well, I
Hey.
think we've probably covered everything, and all I need to know is where we can see your work and where can people go to your website?
Yeah, I would love it if people followed me on my Instagram account, which is
Mhm.
at Photospice, one
Photo
word,
Spice.
Photospice, and my website, which I really need an overhaul of it, is barbaradavidson.com.
So you should have been the spice. You wanted to be a Spice Girl, I take it.
True, true. I mean, some
You'd
people.
have the Spice Girls
Yeah, no,
Photo Spice.
I totally wanted to be. I totally wanted to be one of the Spice Girls.
Who
So
didn't?
people ask me about, well, where did that come from? Where did that name come from? Your social media name, And I said,
The
come
Spice Girl.
on, come on. Who doesn't know the
Photo
Spice Girls?
Spice. That's so
So Photo
funny.
Spice is kind of fun,
I
and it's
love that.
synonymous
I
with
love that.
me.
When's your birthday?
September 20, Virgo.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's my mom was a Virgo.
No.
September 17th. Virgos are good. Well, I do want to ask you what it's like to be a photojournalist in the era of Instagram and all these socials.
Great question. Great question. Well, I
Someone gave me that idea.
Great question. I think that in some ways, a lot of people are going to find this difficult to swallow, but in some ways, Instagram kind of ruined uh, the purity of photography
Wow.
in a sense that,
It kind of ruined a lot of
filters.
things.
Yeah, look, I love it to showcase my
Hmm.
work, but this notion of changing your photography with a filter and a blink of an eye, it really has changed how we appreciate photography. What is real, what is fake, what is
Hmm.
not. And now with AI
Oh,
coming
it's
on,
just
wow, we are
I know I
in
can't
for
even like anything nice. I think something's cool and people are like, "That's AI." I'm
it's
like,
it's
"It's just
you,
a
you know, I'm into
picture."
AI when it's an artistic statement and
Yeah.
you're using it in that vein. But I think as a photojournalist, I think we're always trying to protect the
Yeah.
authenticity of the image, right? I
Mhm.
mean, that's the foundation of what we do. And while I love Instagram and I still show my
Yeah,
work
it's
there,
good for some things, yeah?
for sure. I mean, I think that's what a lot
The
of
show.
editors look at. They look at your Instagram
Mhm.
feed. But I think that everyone's a photographer now, and some are authentic, and some are playing games and messing around with reality. So it has definitely changed the nature of what
Mhm.
we do, and some of it I love, and some of it I worry about.
It's kinda like that with everything, though. Like, there's always good and
Absolutely.
bad about everything.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I think that photojournalism, there are guardrails that we need to respect in order to create images that are authentic,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you can't believe in what we're doing, then what's the point of doing it at all, right?
Right.
So, yeah, long live photojournalism.
Well, it's not going anywhere. Okay,
Hopefully.
well, thank you so much
Thank you.
for being here. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. You can see us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Apple Podcasts. This is the Paris Chong Show and Disco and Barbara
Oh,
saying,
wait. I got to say one thing.
yes.
Your Paris Chong song is
Oh.
fantastic.
Oh my God, you know what's
It's
really
so
thank
amazing.
you.
I
Yeah, the
love
people that helped
it.
me write it are coming in next.
Amen.
Okay,
Great
thank you
song.
everyone. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Say bye, disco.
Bye, disco. Come on, disco.